So who is Joseph Campbell? Joseph Campbell is a very famous and popular, well accepted mythologist, mythology teacher, researcher, writer, and that's how through this analysis of mythical stories, through hero's journey, this monomyth, he explains how we can be the part of these stories, how we can be the part of these narratives, and we find the essence of life and follow our bliss. So these concepts also we are going to discuss it at length. So there are many authors, there are many mythologists who are working in this field since many years. But it made me question always that what makes Campbell different. The first thing is giving authentic references. So while reading Campbell's work, we always see that he cites the references. Campbell's background about Indian mythology is from two perspectives. One, that he has himself studied Indian mythology in depth. Let it be about the language. So he goes into the etymology of the words from Sanskrit perspective. Let it be the arts. So he goes into the iconography. He was 7 years old. His father took him and his younger brother Charlie to see Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. The evening was a high point in Joe's life, for although the cowboys were clearly the show's stars, as Joe would later write, he became fascinated, seized, obsessed. See, look at the words, how Joseph Campbell writes. Became fascinated, seized, obsessed by the figure of naked American Indian with his ear to the ground, a bow and arrow in his hand, and a look of special knowledge in his eyes. So he was fascinated by this concept of American Indians and their rituals. What might be their rituals? What might be their belief? It was Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher whose writings would later greatly influence Campbell, who observed that the experiences and illuminations of childhood and early youth become in later life the types, standards, and patterns of all subsequent knowledge and experience, or as it were, the categories according to which all later things are classified. Not always consciously, however, and so it is that in our childhood years, the foundation is laid of our later views of the world, and there with as well of its superficiality or depth, it will be in later years unfolded and fulfilled, not essentially changed. But there is a great scholar called Winter Nitz. He is being well revered and referred in our academic field of Indology. And while reading Winter Needs, I came across a reference where Winter Needs mentions about Heinrich Zimmer. He says that this person has a huge contribution in the field of Indology and needs to be considered to a great extent. Now, let us understand how Campbell is associated over here. When Zimmer died, for the same reason, Joseph Foundation has been an event called as Mythological Roundtable in different regions, where people could come together and they can just have a talk about mythical stories. So even if there is nothing, there is no, like we are very fortunate in India that we have some academic courses being conducted. We have a lot of rituals, a lot of things happening where at least we come and discuss about what is our heritage, what is the mythical factors behind it. But there are many countries, there are many places where this mythical and folkloric culture is on the verge of extinction because of urbanization. And that's why this activity of Joseph Campbell Foundation was designed with the perspective of bringing people together to start a discussion. They want Joseph Campbell's work to be shared so that there can be a foundation for the discussion. And later we can have the discussions on it. It is not necessary to always agree with what Joseph Campbell is saying. It is not so. We can also disagree. We can also put forward different opinions. But what this all comes from heritage of all of us. We all have a right to talk about them. We can have our different understandings. We can have our different backgrounds. And that discussion is very necessary to take place. It is not necessary that only a one person or one scholar speaks on something and we just listen to it. No, each person should talk, should share their views, because they are very important. Now we'll stop over here with the